hello to everyone who is attending and joining the fourth module of the e-commerce and dropshipping session that we have in partnership with Creative 971. Thank you all for joining us. And we're completing 1 month or 4 weeks of these sessions with Creative 971. Throughout these past few modules, we kind of went through the journey of how do you establish and set up your e-commerce business in the UAE. So module 1, we looked at business setup. How do you actually set up and what jurisdiction you look at when you're setting up? And then we looked at, of course, the logistical part of how to incorporate payment gateways and start working with banks in the UAE. The third module, we spoke about how to build your brand and actually start marketing and building your sales strategy for your e-commerce brand. And now finally, we have Julia back again with us from Creative 971 on how to build your e-commerce website. So yeah, this is an exciting one. We got a lot of questions from you guys. So we're gonna go through, as always, go through these questions one by one. And if anyone has questions in the chat, please feel free to type it out and we'll answer your questions as well. Julia, how are you doing?
Sure. Yeah, I'm doing great. Thank you so much. I've heard already that you had a very intense session on the marketing last week. So,
yeah.
So great. Great that it's you and me today. And yeah, first of all, thank you guys as well for following through, you know, for being there. I know it can be sometimes quite a bit boring. You know, you're sitting in front of a screen and you think, wow, it's so much information. How can I all consume that and turn that into something like real life that can help me in my entrepreneurial journey? But I think that's the reason we've broken it down over many weeks and also allowing kind of an in-person or a meet and greet. Why? Because we do totally know the first time you hear all about this, until you consume it, materialize it, adapt it to your business, it's just, you know, in real life, much, much harder than it sounds while we're talking here. And, you know, by all means, we're not, you know, we're not perfect, you know, we all have our flaws and we all go through ups and downs. So I think that's a much healthier approach, as any business is a marathon, so to say, and not a sprint. So yeah, and I think to today's topic on building an e-commerce website, there's a lot of perceptions, there is a lot of questions. As usual in the sessions, what we do, we collate the most frequently asked questions when it comes to that topic that we receive from an agency perspective as being Shopify and Shopify Plus leading e-commerce agency in the region. And then we do the same with Creative Zone, that is the leader when it comes to business licenses, not only on e-commerce, but particularly business licenses in the mainland or in the freelance or anything around the UAE. And I believe in Saudi now as well, right? You guys opened up borders in Saudi.
Yes.
So, yeah.
We've started in Saudi and in Qatar.
Amazing.
So we'll be going soon. And
yeah. Great. So no, without further ado, I think we can get into it.
All right. So questions around building an e-commerce website. What are the important points I should consider in building my Shopify store?
Yep. So it could be Shopify store. It could say WooCommerce here. It could literally say any platform. There is no, you know, no specifics on the platform here because it's more on your e-commerce store. And I've said that, funny enough, I was in a panel this morning, and then we'll have a speech about this next week as well. When it comes to the e-commerce stores, what are important is number one is the localization. So think of really what market you want to enter. Where should that store sit, right? Should it be for users in Japan? Should it be for users in the UAE? It needs to look completely different, right? Like I'll give you even a tip. Even if you look at Starbucks website and you try to go to starbucks.ae and then you go to the Starbucks Japan side, you see the differences. And I mean, you know, normally people read from left to right or have a certain way of navigating and filtering. And in the UAE, I can tell you guys, like, speed is key, but it's not only the speed of the website, but as the shortest way possible to get to where you want to go. In UAE, we're so much overflown of information. Lots of people have 2, if not 3 phones business-wise, or, you know, so much hyper connected already. And then with a rate of 99.9% Wi-Fi that we have accessibility in the UAE, it just gets super demanding. And if your website is not providing a good user experience, you know, like fast forward 10 years, it will not be, okay, I'm online and it's enough to have a website. It will be, I'm online and my user experience is on point, because that's exactly what's happening in the transitions. If you're looking at European or American changes that are happening around e-commerce, businesses don't just go online anymore for the sake of showcasing themselves online, but in order to capture and help their customers find the fastest and most efficient way forward. So like summarizing that, how you can do that without a developer on Shopify, for sure, you can start with a theme, implement a theme that you believe fits the aesthetics and your brand guide or your brand colors, and, you know, adjust the touch and feel that's possible within Shopify store. But important, other than localization, is as well a continuity. So let's say if you choose a channel, a social channel, you don't have to be in 200 social channels at the same time. I mean, exaggerating. Pick one or two that you believe your audience sits. And why I'm saying that, because if your audience is not sitting on a social platform that you're looking for, then for you, there is no need to be there, right? Give you a good example. Reels, TikTok, short video creation works extremely well in the UAE. You can fiddle that in some sort in your profiles, which we're doing as well. I think Creative Zone as well. You know, it's just fun. It's nicer to consume, but normally you wouldn't expect a serious business inquiry to come through a reel or through an Instagram story if you're a B2B provider. Let's say if your Shopify store is about selling toys for pets or for kids, and you will have funny toddlers and kids playing in Instagram or Reels, the likeliness of someone picking up stocks from, you know, from those type of social channels is much higher. So I would advocate here, build the store for the location in mind. Where do you want to attract the customer? Like, where is your customer base from? And secondly, then, build it out on the platforms that you're able to connect and build a long-term sustainable strategy. How often do you update content? You know, do you have a winter season? Will you have a Christmas edition that you want to market, or a National Day, something? So build that in your strategy and stay consistent on that, because people do notice if it's just a one-off and just someone posting like 10 times a day, or, you know, changing the banners of the e-commerce website like 10 times a day, or it says suggestedly. But then, you know, how do you follow through? What happens a month later? Are you having, you know, tie-ups in the UAE? It's very important to get established that you start building your offline network as well. Don't rely on online only. I mean, there's a few businesses that have broken through online only, and I think one good example to name is the Giving Movement. They've been doing exceptionally well on online only, but let me tell you, they have had an exceptional investment in marketing in order to make that happen. We've seen other brands like, for example, Squat Wolf, which is an online only brand, along the lines with Gymshark, who has started off very, very, you know, decent, and took them a couple of years to come where they are today. So please make sure, you know, if there is a marketing budget considerably behind, there is smart ways to get that started. But, you know, collaborations, influencers, you see even, let's say, Gucci and Balenciaga, they're doing on a high fashion level, they're doing collaborations. So it's in the trend now, and you need to make those trends work for you. So find a micro or mini influencer, find someone in your niche, in your industry, that you can, you know, use as an advocate for your business in the long term, not just in the short. Yeah.
It's interesting that you mentioned the Given Movement, because you can't avoid them. They're all over the place. So they clearly are investing a lot in their advertising.
Yeah, when you guys can check it out even. I mean, from the whole experience, it's a Shopify store. So I know for a fact they're built on Shopify, and they've had a massive growth. They've had an amazing growth. And I think the platform itself helped them a lot, because they could actually focus on their business rather than, you know, focusing on heavy server deployments and etc. But yeah.
So on that note, and to go to the next question, how much does it cost? Is it an expensive affair? How much does it cost you to go through Shopify for an e-commerce website?
So technically, Shopify itself is quite affordable, right? You get a Shopify subscription, which is a hosting with a secure SSL link. You get that for $29 a month. Literally hits you up with everything you need. Shopify has different plans, of course, depending on, you know, the capabilities, reporting tools. One factor is as well bandwidth, like the larger plan you choose, or, you know, like also transfer fees, because at the moment we do have payment gateways that integrate with Shopify, but Shopify didn't select a native payment gateway integrator like elsewhere globally. Or I mean, they did. It is Stripe, that we know that, but the problem is it's not yet open here for the UAE. So at the moment, you have to consider on the $29 plan a 2% transfer fee. And if it's the higher plans, it drops down up to down to 0.5% per transaction. Zishan, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry about that. All right, so third question, what do I need to know about how to improve and elevate our customer website experience to the next level? So the customer website experience would be probably the journey, the moment you visit and enter and once you actually close.
Yeah, true. So usually we say try to keep that as short and sweet as possible, but help improving the customer experience is also the content, right? A lot of times people think it's only about the web development and everything, but let me tell you, if your background banners are completely in different filters, like you see that a very good example now is, for example, if you look at my screen or if you see me, you see it's a kind of yellowish filter or kind of yellowish tone that I have due to the light I have here. And Zishan has a more white, like a more cold light in the room that he is. Now, imagine, you know, Zishan and me being next to each other in an e-commerce side, and we're being products instead of humans. You'd literally see the difference in the way shots are taken, the way the images have been rendered, or, you know, like even touched up in terms to fit on the tone on the side. And I think that's just something to consider, because especially in the UAE, you see that a lot. People are probably getting images from their manufacturers. Different manufacturers shoot the products differently. One is maybe on the left, the other one on the right, the other one centered. So this looks very haphazard, and something like that is not a smooth experience, because usually what it resembles, anything that doesn't look in order and is not structured, has the appearance of either not been taken care of, or, you know, just done in a rush and not really given the attention it should have. So I think, you know, it starts down from the content, from the way you present, you know, the wording, the tone of voice that you said, how does it fit to the images, how does it fit to the structure. So these things all play a role. But the content aside, let's say helping elevate the website is definitely, don't only show products. We see that a lot of times people open a website and then you see bestseller and new arrival and here everything and new products, and okay, but you know, what are you about? Where is your about us? Like, where is a banner, you know, showcasing, let's say, the story of the business or the background, or maybe possible showcasing of different categories, like what can I all get within. Like, there is a bit of disconnect a lot of times when it comes to that people think, yes, you are an e-commerce business, but how far are you actually tapping into the story, like who you are, why you're doing what you're doing, what does your store solve, why buying from this store and not from Amazon or another retailer that might have the same product even for 10 dirhams cheaper, right? So it's just to find that fine line, and it's a lot to do with branding or brand positioning, not so much even with e-commerce as such.
I think that's a really valid point. The moment I'm online shopping and if I see just an off-looking picture, I just want to close the app.
Exactly.
You're right.
Yeah.
It kind of makes sense though. If you go to a shopping mall and if you see things that's not really put together, you won't go to the shop. So yeah. It makes sense.
Yeah, think of it like the shop has trash in front, or everything's random, clothes are on the floor. You wouldn't feel welcome, right? You wouldn't feel like you want to enter. But people forget that they think, it's okay, you know, I'll change the pictures later. You will have that type of people, or sometimes it happens that you have people that like to over perfectionize, you know, they like to work for 6 months, a year on their perfectionizing the brand, and then they forget the consumer. So try to be a balance in between, because yes, you have to make everything diligently, but at some point, without your user being on the side, you don't know what feedback you get. You don't know actually what the people are asking, right? There's only so much usability testing and user experience you can adapt, but how much actually is your customer base feeding back on a live website is so much worth more in terms of data readings and information that you get.
Yeah, and are you able to get this from Shopify? Are you able to get data and readings and site visits?
Yeah, sure do. I mean, Shopify itself has an amazing tool that lets you review the reports. Nevertheless, I would still advise you have your Google Analytics, like have a Google Analytics account set up. You can do that under Google, or I think analytics.google.com. Set up an account for your domain and just have it actively implemented into Shopify. It's just copy pasting a code in the backend. Super easily done, and it will show you everything that you need to know about where your visitors from. Do they come from an Android or from an Apple device? Yeah.
Right. So that brings us to our fourth question. Do I need to have the technical knowledge in order to build my Shopify or e-commerce store?
Essentially, if you want to start off and you want to start off as lean as possible, you won't have to have a technical knowledge. But what you need to know, of course, is to follow, let's say, either we have brought out a lot of online courses that show you literally step by step how to do it without coding knowledge to come online. Those online courses are, let's say, very affordable. You can start very easily without having, the bank broken. But if you do want customizations or you want a couple of adaptations that you say, no, I definitely need it more adjusted to my brand vision, then yes, you would need either an agency like us, a freelancer, or anyone to help you with getting where you want to go. Yeah.
Right. And how do I initiate this process? That's the next question. How can we initiate the process and get moving with building this website?
Mm-hmm. So usually the best way is if you don't know where to start, I would say hit up our YouTube channel, have a look at where it educates you on e-commerce and Shopify. Then what I would suggest, have a trial store, because Shopify does give you the ability for a 2 weeks free trial, so you don't have to pay that. Get on one of the themes, go to the theme store, have a look through, see and explore, and then take it from there. But what I would always tell you, no matter if you're going later on to an agency like us or you ask anyone to help you with your site, have a clear scope of work and have, again, coming back to probably question number one, have your audience in mind, like who do you want to reach and why?
Makes sense. Let's move to the next question over here. Right. How many products is allowed to sell?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fun fact, actually, there are a couple of stores on Shopify that sell more than 1.5 million products. So I don't want to say unlimited, because at some sort there are probably going to be limitations the larger the count gets. Like you will have filters that probably slow down the site in order to filter through products. But technically, you can be open to sell as many as you want, as many as you have. So there's no limit, so to say.
Right. Good to know. At this point, I will also encourage anyone in the chats to ask your questions over there, and we'll make sure that we're answering them as well.
Yeah, sorry, actually, we should. Yeah, I mean, you can ask them over in the chat or raise the hand. I think we're probably
okay. So Elil has asked. By the way, we remember Elil from the previous session.
Yeah, I do actually. Hi, Elil.
What is the difference between Magento owned host than Shopify?
Mm-hmm. So Magento is definitely, as you said, like own hosted service. So what is the difference here? Magento is a platform that allows you to be very flexible, right? To be very customizable, but at the same time, you would need to host and deploy that solution, meaning also for the payment security. On Shopify, you have a cloud hosting. So it's basically software as a service. It's SaaS. It's a platform that you purchase into, that you basically have monthly subscription. That was initially the $29 starting prices. And within that $29, you don't only get your website up. So it's basically the website hosting. It's the security SSL verification. Anything that goes under Shopify in terms of payment goes through a PCI level 1 compliant link. And that means it literally goes through a banking, same as the banking level of security. So, talking about fraud and protecting your website, I think Shopify is the best that there is in order to keep your, customer data as well safe. Don't forget, we have GDPR rules and regulations. We have cookie policies. We have a lot of legal terms that you need to protect the data of the customer as well. And on Magento, you would literally have to build those security systems on your own hosted version, which is definitely way more costly than buying into Shopify subscription.
Right, makes sense. Garcia Barbarian has an interesting question. So should my business be registered and have commercial registration papers in order to launch Shopify and have the online payment transactions?
Should my business be registered and have commercial registration? So like, I would put it that way. In order to be transactional, operational, it has to be literally registered, like it needs to be a registered business. But if you want to start your website and you would probably need a month or a couple of weeks to get there, you can literally start the website without having the license, narrow down all the products and the niches and the industry you want to be in. And then, for example, approach a company like Creative Zone to get you there, to get your papers up and running. It usually doesn't take that long of a time. But we normally say approach it together at the same time when you start your website, because both will have their processes. They don't interfere with each other, but you would need a license in order to release or link your payment gateway. So the payment gateway would ask for your business license, and that's basically the point when we implement the online payment gateway into the website, where where the license will definitely be needed.
Exactly. And then that's why we're here. That's why Creative Zone is here to help you set up and get your registration. And Creative 971 is here to help you get the website up and running and start promoting your e-commerce.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. One more question from Elil. Thanks. What is the data center for Shopify in Dubai or GCC countries? He is concerned about the latency issues.
Yeah, I know your concern. Usually the data centers that are deployed within Shopify are nearby. There is none in Dubai, and as far as I know, either in Bahrain or Qatar, but I'm not quite sure. I know that there are a few over in India, because India is quite a strong Shopify community as well, Malaysia as well. So usually in terms of latency, there is no concern, like there is no, how do you say, delays or problems, if you want to say so. I think if you look at over the statistics on Shopify, Shopify terms or Shopify data, even if you go to Shopify help desk, you can Google Shopify help desk and have a look there. They will link you up to numbers and stats that shows you that you have a 99.9% uptime, and that's across all Shopify plans. And we're talking even about websites like Gymshark, that transact, I don't know, millions and billions of British pounds per year, not even talking about dirham, but there is definitely a way of not feeling that lag or delay that you're probably worried about, Elil. And if you have a specific concern or you have anything that you want to share, then feel free to send something over so we can have a look into that.
All right, so one more question from the audience. Garcia again. In Lebanon, in order to register a company, one should have a lawyer on retainer fee as well as an auditor. Are these also required when registering a company in Dubai?
You should definitely be a lawyer in Lebanon, I figured. Sorry. No, but in Dubai, I believe you do need some sort of like support to open the company. So whether that be a lawyer or whether that be, of course, Creative Zone offers that service and they have legal advisors as well. You do not always need an audit. There are specific free zones or companies when you let's say when you open the business, that doesn't force you to have an auditor. An auditor for sure, no, you don't. You can, deploy that whenever needed. Sometimes you won't even need to have an auditor, like depending on what license type you choose. And so it's definitely, Garcia, maybe to answer that question, it's definitely easier to open a business, I believe. I think I've never seen a country like the UAE that made it so easy and simple for literally anyone I know to open a business. So in over the past years, they've become so friendly. Like I remember my chasing journey of even, beginning of opening business licenses years ago was so much different from now, right? And I think now you have to more like brace yourselves when opening a bank account than opening a business at the moment. Yeah,
exactly. The lawyer,
right, Zishan?
yeah, the lawyer and auditor part is not necessity, like Julia mentioned. It's very specific on your business activity. So yeah.
Yeah, maybe guys, if it depends also here, maybe I have to say what type of business you have, right? If you're, let's say, in the food industry or healthcare or anything that you apply to the skin, especially in the UAE, I'd probably advise you to have a lawyer, but that's more for the concerns that may arise from your product lines. But it doesn't have to be a forced retainer. So no one is going to come and tell you, hey, where's your on the show me, or else you'll get problems. This is not how it's going to be.
Yeah, it is not crucial for the company registration part.
Yeah.
All right, let's come back to the questions on the screen. How does Shopify theme work, and how can it help me build my store?
Yeah, so in Shopify, you will see that it's called a theme. There is purchase themes that you can buy into. There is a free theme that you already get when you download or when you actually opt into Shopify. And anything that you even change from a design or from a development point, it's always going to be theme based, because Shopify calls their CMS, their backend, their dashboard is based on a theme. So there's something called a theme customizer that lets you change things, that lets you adapt fonts, colors, upload pictures, upload products, upload your content onto the website. Shopify themes, when you buy into some of them, they have modules that align as well. Some of them a bit nicely to mobile. Some of them let you even upload video content. So they let you adapt and play with the content as you need it. Of course, as it's a template, it's probably going to be limited and not custom work to your needs. But that's why it makes sense to go through that on a Shopify level. And I'd recommend you, if you want to go and explore the Shopify theme store, please do so on the official Shopify theme store. Don't try to download anything from Theme Forest or any other theme websites, because any theme that's not built on the code and built for Shopify will probably give you a big headache down the lines, and we would definitely discourage you to do so. So yeah, that's probably what I could say for the theme as a point here.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. All right. Is it possible to build my own store through Shopify and approach by myself and as a start in order to minimize the cost? Or is it recommended to work with a developer or agency to do it? An agency, for example, being Creative 971.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, definitely. I think I've touched on that already. It's definitely possible for you to tap into that by yourself and start it, minimizing the cost. But sometimes you have to also ask yourself, it's not only about minimizing the cost, but it's about your vision. So let's say if you're okay with it, if you're saying, hey, this is a small side business, I really just want to start, of course, a theme will probably be enough. But if you're saying, hey, I really, brought investors on, I want to grow this and I want to make this happen, then you would definitely have to spend some money on it. Not only necessarily on the website, but you'd already have spent money on your branding. You'd probably have spent money on a lot more tools to get you going. And a lot of times people say, no, it's too expensive, it's too much of an upfront investment. Most of the times when people work with us as a company, we do have payment plans as well. So there are staggered payments, and it's just a way of making it work for you. So yeah, but definitely both ways is possible. Zishan, are you there?
Sorry about that, just got All right, coming back. Is there a way to make sure that my website design is clean and error-free?
Mm-hmm. First of all, and again, that roots back to the question above, probably work on the themes that are Shopify approved. So that's what I said, only use the official Shopify themes. And then I would also encourage you to only work with Shopify licensed developers or agencies like one of ourselves, obviously, but also in the Shopify network, you will find Shopify experts. I wouldn't just let anyone work on the site for the sake of having bugs and, misfortunate behaviors on the site. And it just sometimes is much more expensive to clearing up those mess in the back once it's created, rather than spending on a good site in the first place. It's usually what they say when they say, when you buy cheap, you buy twice. I think I truly believe in that concept, no matter what industry. So there's also people that say, you know what, working with Creative Zone, oh, but there is probably a service fee, you know, could I save some money and do it myself? Or I have a friend who can do it cheaper. You'll always have these people, but it doesn't mean that they will get you there error free, right? So it's always good to consider the options, and then you have to choose, right? It's your business, it's your risk, you're building it. So it's also your responsibility to choose who you want to take as a provider forward.
Yeah, perfect. Also, it comes back to the question we were answering earlier about improving the experience of the person of the website. So you just want to make sure that it's clean. You don't have any issues. A question from Hala Gibran over here. If I already have a website, can I link it to Shopify, or do I need to start from scratch? And the website's based on WordPress.
Mm-hmm. I mean, what you can do, you can opt in something called a Shopify buy button, because Shopify has a tool. If you already have your products on WordPress, you can just use the basket, the last instance when someone clicks on add to cart, and have the checkout experience on Shopify, only to protect your checkout from, you know, attacks, frauds, etc. Like Elil's question earlier on how to secure that when you don't have to host your own checkout. So that's a possibility, Hala, that you could do. It's called a Shopify buy button. But if you believe you you want to take even the design that you have on WordPress and apply it to Shopify, yes, it would have to be rebuilt. It's not something that you can download from one and upload to the other. If you like the design, or if you like what you have and you want to migrate that, you sort of say copy it one by one, you know, there is possibilities to give a quotation or to give a price line on that. So you could do either or. But I would say if you want to, you know, start off lean and want to check in terms of getting your way done, probably have a look at that Shopify buy button.
Right. And let's stay on the same topic, because Werner has a question. I heard that it is possible to link Shopify with Amazon. So basically, I would set up a store on Shopify and then somehow transfer the data to Amazon. Could you give me some details on that?
Mm-hmm. So we've heard of that too, that Shopify opened up the canal, or the channel more or less, to say like a sales channel under Amazon. So it's likely the same with the Shopify, with the Facebook store when you integrate sales channels. So there is an integration at the moment with Amazon, but does it work yet in the UAE? I believe not yet. I mean, Amazon over here is still not in many ways not fully integrated as it is globally. So what I would say, Werner, if you want to try it, go to the sales channels in Shopify, add up your Amazon account, and literally do a test run and try that. So we haven't tried it on anyone actively, so I can't give you more details on that, but I would say, I know it shows up, I know it's there, so you can actually test it along a test environment if you want to.
Thank you for that, Julia. All right, so we have a question over here on the screen. How will I handle customer service or refunds through my Shopify website?
Mm-hmm. So now the beauty about working with Shopify, Shopify is a global leading e-commerce platform. You will find most of the apps, softwares, providers, all having solutions for Shopify. And this is amazing. Why? Because you as a merchant can literally choose. So you can choose to handle your customer service on WhatsApp, right? There's WhatsApp integrations. You can have ticketing softwares. You can have something like Zoho, Zendesk, that are tools that can help you, to manage your customer chat boxes, or like ticketing, raising points or raising inquiries. And at the same time as well, you can handle refunds through the website, either manually. So you just have a refund policy and you do it manually, or you can have a developed version that lets you actually refund automatically or as a system through Shopify. So both is possible. And it is, it's quite relieving to know that, because I know this is a pain point most of the customers have. But both is integratable. Also email marketing, which I think is a big point a lot of times as well. So that's possible too.
That's amazing. I had an instance like this just last week and they were just so kind. They're like, oh, we're sorry we couldn't deliver. Here, the voucher or refund code. And
nice.
I just got excited. Like, oh, I got a code from them. I could
Yeah,
see
that's
the
nice.
Shopify over there.
Really? That's
Yeah.
nice. I had something similar happen to me. There was I think, no, Black Friday sale. Yeah, it was last year on the Black Friday. So see how time flies. I ordered something from Gymshark and it came and it was completely wrong order. Like it was not mine, not my items, for sure not. It was like t-shirts in double XL and I felt like, what did I order? It's not mine. And then I called them up, or I sent them a message on the ticket system, and they said, "Oh, we're so sorry. You know, seems to be a mess up in your order. Send us the picture of what you received." And then they've actually managed to send me my order, the one I wanted, which I had to wait on another week free of charge. Like they didn't charge me for shipping. And the order that I received wrongly, they asked me to keep it. They told me you can just keep it as a gift, and I thought that's
Oh,
kind of
good.
nice as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
Uh,
turning their mistake into something that's positive for you as a
yeah,
shopper.
for
And I
sure.
think, yeah, I like that. You know, like that's the type of thinking we want to encourage with, you know, entrepreneurs. If you feel like this is the way you deal with customers, you know, today we sit in a webinar and I'm telling you about an experience from last year on an online shop. So it made an impact, and I think that's what it's about.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you have these tools to refund, but it's up to you and not how to give them a good quality service
Yeah.
at the end of the
Plus,
day.
also, if you would have to refund or if you would have to send it back, or they will have to send it back. I think here in the UAE, we're so spoiled, right? It's so easy. Like if you receive something from anyone, anywhere, and you don't want to keep it, they just send a driver to pick it up. If I'm back in my country, in Germany, for example, I have to go to the post station. I have to wrap the box with the package,
Yeah,
and then I have to bring it back. You know, like it's so much of an effort to do returns, and that's why you have less
yeah,
returns probably all over in Europe. But here, it's so like, you know, it's just a tip on your finger in the app, and it's done.
of course, of course. My
Yeah.
God. Yeah, it really spoils you being in the UAE as a
Yeah.
consumer, which
Yeah.
makes it a great opportunity for marketers to be over
Mm.
here to be selling. One more question we have. How do we create the best product images and descriptions in setting up my e-commerce website?
Mhm. Now, I would tell you, if you're the one taking your own pictures, go to if you have an iPhone or any other phone, go to a setting that allows you to take 4K resolution images and then try to take them in natural daylight or in a light that is not like my light at the moment, but a light like Zishan's, or that works around a proper lighting, because half of your product quality is the product photography, and that comes with the lighting itself. So if you do that yourself, of course, there's a lot of research that you can do, but I think essentially it comes down, if you center the products in most of the images, or you shoot them against a green or white background or blue background, keep consistent. Like don't shoot one in a black background, tomorrow it's red and then yellow, and
Yeah,
it's too much for the consumer, too much for the eye. And descriptions, you got to make sure to keep them a bit longer. I mean, not extremely long, not like a paragraph or something, but try to keep them at least 160, around 160 words. Why? And that feeds back to the SEO on page, because each product page and each product description should ideally be different. It shouldn't be exactly the same, copy pasted, even though it's the same product, because search engines are crawling and they will find different products with different descriptions, even if it's the same product on your site with different descriptions, and will then rank better rather than if you're copying content or repeating content too frequently. Yeah.
right.
So I think that would be the best recommendation here.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I think, oh, we're out of questions.
Yay.
So yeah, perfect. Thank you for this. Thank you for giving me your time. I'm just going to go through the slides again. Yeah, we
Sure.
answered all these questions. Thank you to Julia, of course, for being a part of this program with us. And thank you to everyone who's been attending this. We're going to stay here for a minute or so. If anyone has any more questions, please type them in the chat. It'll be great for us to answer any of your questions.
Yeah.
I also want to, along with just wrapping up this program that we've been having, so we've done 4 modules so far. You can find all the recordings on YouTube. We have a little playlist for you where you can watch all these sessions in case you missed them. Tomorrow, we're going to have a meet and greet with Creative 971. We initially promoted this as a physical event. However, getting feedback from the people who are unable to make it because either they're not in Dubai or they're just unable to come because of different reasons. we've decided to make this virtual. So it's going to be a virtual meet and greet tomorrow at 6 p.m. Dubai time. So the time is the same. The date is the same tomorrow. And so we're going to have Julia and Nico, both of them from Creative 971, to answer any questions that you may have pending. It's going to be a Zoom meeting, not a webinar. So you can, of course, unmute yourself and speak directly to us. We can get to know you, and answer any of your questions.
Yeah, take your coffee or tea or whatever, and feel comfortable. We'll not be sitting in suits and like business attire.
Yeah.
It will be very casual, but we also want to make sure that we answer your questions. If there are any, like, go back and rewind on all those sessions, and for sure the recording will be up. I just saw Elil raising a question on Shopify. Is CDN Shopify is CDN is by default its additional subscription? Could you specify that, Elil, that question, please? Because CDN are the servers where the content is hosted, or the cloud service. So what do you mean? Is it's additional subscription? So this is included. I mean, sorry, maybe I got it right. I got it wrong. That you don't have to spend extra money for deploying the CDN servers. They are included in this subscription of Shopify, but they're limited. You can only upload up to 20 megabyte per content item. I'd say I would probably never upload an image with 20 megabyte size on your site, but probably video. So you can self-host that on Shopify with a maximum capacity of 20 megabyte per video.
Can you explain to those who might not know what CDN is?
Yeah, so it's a cloud server. It's a cloud stream server where it allows you to upload your content to a cloud server. So essentially, this is what Shopify facilitates, that your content is saved and stored on a cloud server, and CDN server, so to say. That also will mean it doesn't slow down your website because it's already stored up there. So you're just deploying, you're just opening it from there. You're not completely downloading it from like a, let's say from an offline server that you literally have to completely load it. So it's shorter loading time, much better for your website speed. And yes, it is included in the Shopify subscription. I hope that was the question. At least this is how I understood by reading it a second time.
Perfect. I don't see any other questions in the chat or in the Q&A. So I think I should assume that we should be done. So we'll just again wait for like a minute or so. If there's anyone else who would like to ask a question, then we can wrap this up. Elil has a follow-up to his own question. So
20 megabyte never be, that's what I mean. 20 megabyte, you will have it never on images for sure, not you'll have it on video content. So let's say if you want to self-host or Shopify host the video that you upload to your website. Why? Because it will just make the website faster, right? If you have any video playing on your website, no matter how and good and bad and amazingly that video is short or compressed, it would always slow down the website speed, unless you're uploading it, of course, to a CDN server and then the file needs to be less than 20 megabyte for Shopify in order to be able to host it. That's the same across all Shopify platforms or Shopify subscription services. It doesn't change if you take a higher plan, it doesn't get higher. It's just something that in the lines of, let's say, the pain line, the red line, not to cross in order to be still efficient on the website speed and the way the video opens and loads when you actually, let's say, click on the video to function.
All right, I think we can wrap this up now. If any of you have questions, you can reach out to Julia from Creative 971 directly. You can write to us. I know there was a question about company registration, so we're happy to reach out to you if you have anything else. And like I said, we'll see you tomorrow at the meet and greet virtually on Zoom. You should all have received an email around now with the Zoom link for tomorrow. It'll be a different Zoom link. Please join us for an hour. It'll be nice to catch up with you. It'll be nice to know who you are and kind of really address more questions which you might have in launching your e-commerce business in the UAE.
Sure, too. Yeah. And if you only, if you guys only want to join in for half an hour or 40 minutes, you're not forced to stay on like the whole time tomorrow. Anything. It's just going to be nice to also connect and see you guys, and probably we'll take a nice picture for our Instagram or for our social channels after this 1 month of training series. And thank you everyone for today as well.
Great. Thank you, Julia. Thank you to
Thank
the
you.
entire team at Creative
See you
971.
tomorrow then. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
See you. Goodbye.
Bye.